Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet Good Torah. Okay, we're doing Parsha Noach, the famous Parsha Noach, Noah and the Ark, and all the animals. All right, so the world before the Mabul, before the flood, was really miraculous. And even though Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, they were kicked out of Gan Eden, out of the Garden of Eden. Life before the flood was still similar in some ways to life in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden. So the Midrashim tell us that creation was vastly different before the flood. So actually, like the temperature was beautiful. The temperature, it said, the Midrash says, it was always like the temperature between Nisan and Shavuot. So this warm, spring, it's warm and cool spring weather. It's perfect weather all the time. There was no like harsh conditions of like harsh winter or harsh summer. So the weather was beautiful. It was miraculous. Like people didn't really get sick. And then it said even more miraculous, like children were born within a day, and right away they could get up, they could walk and talk, and move around. It says the earth was so productive back then that they could plant, and then they would have crops for 40 years. So life was very easy, and there was a lot of amazing, miraculous stuff. But unfortunately, instead of appreciating this, instead of having a karsatov, instead of feeling the love and the rachamim, the compassion from Hashem, the people rebelled, and still like they wanted to engage more in their desires. And unfortunately, we see it also today. Like life is very easy in this technological world. I mean, there's huge corporations that do all the farming. People are not out on the fields. You can go to the supermarket. You can get food from all over the world. So life is also easy. Not as miraculous as maybe before the flood, but unfortunately, we're seeing the same problems that we had, in the age of the flood. So the three main problems were killing. And unfortunately, in our world today, we see there's people out there. We see, terrorist organizations and these mass shootings, and there's just not this respect for life. There's not this respect for other people's lives. And Gilui Arayos, immorality. So Hashem's plan for the world is that there will be a man who will marry a woman in Kedushin and holiness, and they'll have children. And the point of this is that Hashem wants people to take part in the creation. He wants them to feel part of the creation, and Hashem works with the Ab and the Ima, the father and the mother, and they bring babies and children into the world. So Hashem wants everyone to be part of life, and the Torah is all about life. And these other relationships of physical immorality, they don't produce life, and that's why Hashem doesn't want it. He wants everyone to engage in life and produce more life, and the whole goal of the Torah is to that everyone can turn this world back into that Garden of Eden and create, Olam Haba, which means the world to come, and it comes to this world, Olam Hazeh. And so that's the second problem, was these, immorality in relationships. And then the third, was avodah zarah, was strange worship, idol worship. And basically, avodah zarah is anything but directed at Hashem. Anything is worshiping anything else but Hashem, the infinite being that's giving everyone life and health and everything. And it started in the third generation. So Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, they had a third son after Cain and Hevel, after Cain and Abel, named Shes. And then Shes had a son named Enosh. And in Enosh's generation, people began to worship the things that Hashem created. So they began to worship the sun and the moon and the stars and everything imaginable. And they said at the time what they were doing is they were worshiping like the ministers of Hashem. Hashem's the great king, and these were Hashem's ministers, and they were worshiping the ministers, and that should make the king happy. But Hashem said only worship him. Only pray to the source of life. There's only this one infinite being that's the source of all life. And then anything else begins to distract the person. And really, the Midrashim described that really what they were doing is they were giving themselves a free pass to engage in like any desires or immorality. So it was really an excuse for the physical immorality. They would build these religions, freeing them, from Hashem's mitzvos. And Hashem gave 6 mitzvahs to Adam Arishon, and they included do not murder, no adultery, no immorality, and then every nation should have a court system. And before the flood, the courts were corrupted. But the final straw for Hashem was Hamas, was stealing, and people were stealing just little amounts from each other, and there was no boundaries. People saw no boundaries between them and their neighbor. Everything, everything was one big. It was socialism, it was communism. It was that whole concept of like everything belongs to everything, and there's no boundaries. And it just and a world cannot be sustained like that. In a world where there's no respect for other people, there's no appreciation, for what Hashem's doing for everyone. And unfortunately, we live in this. We live in this flood. I mean, the flood in the Hebrew calendar was, I think it was 1656. And fascinating enough, the new Avodah Zarah, the Avodah Zarah that Moshe taught us about in the song Hazinu, in Parsha Hazinu, the Loel, the no God, the new Avodah Zarah that began in 1656 to affect the Jewish community when the Enlightenment came in and Baruch Spinoza was put into Cherem. And that was the final step in Avodah Zarah, denying Hashem completely, and in this practice of atheism. It's now anything goes. There's no more, according to the atheists, there's no more rules anymore. There's no nothing. There's no Hashem, giving the mitzvos and the commands of what a person is supposed to do, and good and evil, and anything goes. And it just starts to create the world we see now. It's out of control. All right, so that's all the bad news, and that brought the flood. So what did Hashem do to start rebuilding the world? What did Hashem do? So now we get to the kindness and the cute fuzzy animals and the pets and the great part. Okay, so Hashem's plan, he took Noach, and Noach was a tzaddik in his days, and Noach resisted all this. He resisted, what everyone else was doing, and he loved and was connected to Hashem, and he wanted to follow Hashem's mitzvos. And he saw that the world couldn't be, he wanted no part of this. Now Hashem was very patient. So in the generation of Enosh, where the Avodah Zarah started, Hashem brought a flood on a third of the world. So people saw that Hashem was angry at this, and this is not the way he wanted his world run. And they didn't do the teshuva. They didn't see the error of the ways. As good and as miraculous as life was, there's still more desires they wanted to fulfill, and a person can never fulfill all the physical desires in the physical world. But it's like this lack of appreciation for how amazing and miraculous the world they had. So Hashem wanted to rebuild the world with Noach and Noach's wife Naamah and his 3 children and their wives. So he brought them into this teva, into this ark. And then for a year, for 12 months, what he wanted Noach to do is he wanted everyone on that ark to learn chesed, to learn kindness, and rachamim, compassion, and mercy. And how do all those traits start? And what Hashem did to instill those traits to restart the world is he had them taking care of animals. And it's really a great thing. And everyone, loves pets. And and that's why we give pets to children. And if you start taking care of this cute, lovable animal, and it starts to open your heart up, and you start to feel kindness and compassion, and you love feeding the animal, giving the animal drinks, and bathing the animal, brushing the animal, whatever, playing with the animal. And we love our pets, and it's great. And the pets start to open us up. It starts to open us up to kindness and compassion. And that's the qualities that Hashem wanted to rebuild the world. But the pets are the first step. So the first step was like Noach and his family taking care of these cute, adorable pets. And, some were a little more ferocious, those lions, tigers, everything, But he's taking care, but really what Noach was doing, Hashem was having Noach and his family, they were taking care of the creation. They were taking care of all the things that Hashem had created. And they were ready to rebuild the world. But that's the first step. So the first step is great. It's great having pets. It's great, having these lovable, cute, adorable things that we take care of. But it's to lead us to really have the chesed, the compassion, and the kindness to other people. And as crazy as the world is right now, this is the way it's going to get rebuilt. This is the way it's going to get fixed. And what we can do is, we can't affect the big things, but we can affect around us. We can affect how we treat our family and our friends. And the more kindness we put out into the world, the kinder the world is. And the more people fighting this battle, putting kindness into the world, compassion into the world starts to become a better place. So that's how we start. That's how we rebuild. Even though we have this flood of the Enlightenment, the flood of denying Hashem, denying this amazing infinite being that's given us all life, that's given us an incredible world to live in. But appreciation and kindness and compassion, we start to change this world, Olam Hazeh. We start to change it into Olam Haba, the world to come. And may we see quickly the coming of Mashiach, and a revelation of Hashem in the world, a revelation of this infinite being that loves everyone so much. We're all created by Him. We're all His children. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you back again soon on Sweet Torah, and I hope you have some great pets and some great family and friends that you can share the kindness with. Okay, thanks a lot.